I'm Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times on Friday, end of the week, October the 9th. News from Arkansas. This afternoon, Circuit Judge Wendell Griffin issued a temporary restraining order that halts the scheduled executions of 8 men on death row and a 9th inmate whose execution has not been scheduled. They're challenging the secrecy of the execution process as set out in the 2015 law. They want to know more about the drugs that are going to be used. One paralytic drug might make an inmate paralyzed but still feel pain while other drugs are administered. He says these things might not necessarily prevail at a full hearing, but they deserve a chance to be heard. Also got news today from state government about the toll on people from the botched eligibility checking process on the private option expansion of Medicaid coverage. We now learn that something like 30,000 fewer people are now certified for Medicaid eligibility under the private option than during the high point when it was around 263,000. This is almost certainly a result of the hurry-up process and the confusion that surrounded making sure people were eligible again. The Legislative Joint Auditing Committee met this morning. They called in prosecuting attorneys to talk about the annual report on what happened on cases referred to prosecutors during the last year, 2014. Not quite a third of the cases resulted in criminal charges. Prosecutors say sometimes there was not sufficient evidence to prosecute a crime, intent wasn't there, or there were other ways to deal with circumstances. One interesting case was that of Mark Darr, the former lieutenant governor. Prosecuting attorney Larry Jegley said that he decided not to prosecute him and let the State Ethics Commission investigation of Darr be the sum of what was done about Darr's misdeeds. As you may remember, Darr, when he was lieutenant governor, spent almost $11,000 in state money on personal expenses. He also was later found to have misspent campaign funds. He was fined for ethics violation. He did resign from office. He's now selling cars. Perhaps that's good enough for all of us. News on the mother who's 20-year sentence for passing along methamphetamine in the bloodstream to a newborn baby. Her conviction was reversed Thursday by the state Supreme Court. She remains in jail for a probation violation over failure to return a car rental on time. This was reported by The Atlantic, which also talks about the terrible problem facing mothers who have addiction problems while pregnant. Should they become criminals for that? In this particular case, a woman had been through rehab after the child was born, had tried to set her life right. The child who was born while she was in prison and remains in prison is not in a great home situation, the magazine reported. Speaking of children, there was a statement issued today by Judge Wade Nairmore and his wife Ashley pertaining to the death of their son Thomas, 18 months old, in late July, who apparently was left in a car an extended period on a hot day, forgotten probably by his father, although the circumstances have not been made clear. They asked for patience and sympathy. They say they're cooperating with authorities. The investigation is still underway. A special prosecutor told me this week that it might be a couple of weeks before he decides whether any charge of any sort will be filed in this case. There are something like 36 cases like this in the country every year. Prosecutions vary. There's a widely varying approach to them. It's coincidental that a charge has been filed in northwest Arkansas today against the driver of a van who took children to a daycare operated by State Representative Justin Harris. One child was left in the van for several hours. Fortunately, she wasn't harmed, but the van driver's been charged with a misdemeanor neglect of a minor charge. Carla Hughes, who's been provost of the LSU system, the giant university system in Louisiana, has been named to be the next chancellor of the University of Arkansas at Monticello. The State Board of Education today talked about what a good job Blytheville is doing on improving its schools. Its scores aren't as high as Little Rock, but they're said to be more reasonable, and so they haven't been taken over unlike Little Rock was. Yesterday, the State Board of Education did something interesting. They said they voted 3-2 to violate state law. They said that even though the state law says that school districts that claim an exception from the School Choice Act because of past desegregation cases, they were going to allow a transfer from Far City, which claims this exception, to Palestine-Wheatley. They just said they thought it was better in this case, and the law doesn't mean anything to them. It wasn't a very good example for school children. Mike Huckabee and the Duggars are back together again. The Duggars are helping Huckabee sell one of his videos that has sort of a fractured Huckabee-centric view of world history. It's probably as good for your learning pleasure as some of his statements in his book about that quote the founding fathers on a variety of topics with made-up quotes, which came up this week. It might appear that Duggars might get a commission for referrals to Huckabee. They need some money since they lost their TV show. And finally this, you can find on our Rock Candy blog a great slideshow of pictures of the Frank Lloyd Wright house that has been rebuilt and installed on the grounds of the Crystal Bridges Museum in Bentonville. It's a wonderful piece of period architecture by the famous architect, and it looks great. And you can start seeing it from the public point of view on November 11th, the 4th anniversary of the opening of that great museum. I'm Max Brantley. I'll be back next week.
You feel it in your heart, the spirit of Little Rock. We've had that spirit since 1927, helping build our city by producing decades of leaders in the heart of our state. We are the heart of business and innovation, the heart of politics and government, the heart of arts and culture, and in our city beats the heart of a Trojan. UALR, we are Little Rock's team and Little Rock's University.